Let's continue on application of differentiation, and today we are going to look at small changes. And the small changes, okay, what we look at is that, let's say if it's an area of a circle, okay, and then let's say the radius of the circle changes, what effect does it have on what? On the area of the circle. If the radius changes, if the radius of the circle changes, okay, how is the area also going to what? Also going to change. And the change can be either in percentage or in actual figure. Alright, or in actual figure. Okay, so as I was saying, let's say I'm giving the radius of a circle changes by 5%, and then I'm asked to find the change in the area, which is pi r squared. So the radius changes by 5%. I'm asked to find the change in the area. So if I want to calculate the change in the area, then that will be the change in the area over the change in what? The change in the radius equal to the A on what? The R. That is the change in the area with respect to the radius. Okay, the change in the area with respect to what? With respect to the radius. So delta A over delta equal to change in the A on the R, and then my change in A can be equal to, I'll go and multiply this one by this. So the A on the R multiplied by the change in what? The change in the radius. Alright, the change in the radius. And what I'll do is, as I said, the change in the radius can be given as well, can be given in terms of what? In terms of percentage. Okay, so if the radius is in terms of percentage, let's say 5%, then the change in radius is 5 over 100 times the value of the radius. Okay, 5 over 100 times the value of the radius. And then the A on the R, okay, you differentiate. And that will give me 2 pi r. Alright, then you multiply the A on the R by the change in what? By the change in the radius. So if radius is 5%, and then the value of the radius is r, okay, and that will be 5 over 100 times the actual value of the radius. So that will be 5 over 100 multiplied by the r. Alright, multiplied by the r, and this will be the change in what? The change in the radius. Sometimes they can give you the change in what? In actual value. In actual value. Alright, and sometimes they can say you should find what? The percentage change. So let's say I'm supposed to, this is the actual change, okay, in the radius. So that is the A over the times the change in the radius, and that will give me the, so if you look here, the change in the area will be what? The A on the R times the change in the radius. Alright, and sometimes they can ask you to find the percentage change. So if the percentage change in the area, then what I'm going to do, the results you get from here, okay, the A over the R times the change in the radius, you divide by what? You divide by the actual area of what? And you multiply by 100%. And you multiply by 100%. So you check the change, divide by the actual area, and then you multiply by 100%. So let's say the change is 2. So that will be 2 over the actual area. If the area is 100 centimeters squared times 100, and that will give you what? Let's say 2%. So that is how you can also find out the percentage change in one quantity with respect to the other. Alright, so in general we can say that if A changes, okay, with respect to, let's say, B, then my change in A over the change in B is equal to what? The A on what? The B. Okay, where if I'm supposed to find the change in A, then my change in A will be equal to the A on the B multiplied by the change in B. So if A is changing with respect to B, let's say area is changing with respect to the radius, okay, then the change in the area over change in radius is equal to the A over the area over the radius, okay. So that when you make we are supposed to find the change in A, then the change in will become to the A over the B times the change in what? The change in the B. Is that okay? Alright, so that is the general formula we can use to find a small change. Okay, if let's say y changes with respect to x, okay, if y changes with respect to x, then we can say what? Changing y over changing x is equal to what? Dy on dx, where we can say that changing y will be equal to dy on the x multiplied by changing x, okay, multiplied by changing x. So this is how our formula is going to be. I believe you get this. Alright, then let's go and solve some questions right now. Okay, so let's look at the question. The radius r of a circle is 5 centimeters. Find the increase in the area A of the circle when the radius expands by 0.01. Okay, so we are finding the increase in the area with respect to the radius, okay. So we said the radius of a circle is 5 centimeters. The radius is 5. Find the, so we are giving radius as what? 5 centimeters, okay. Find the increase in the area of the circle when the radius expands by, so there is a change in the radius which is 0.01, change in radius which is 0.01 centimeters. Okay, so the radius increase or expand by 0.01, so that is the change in the radius. And I'm finding what? The increase also in the area. So that is the change in the area over change in the radius is equal to what? The A on the R. And I can say that the change in the area is equal to the A on the R multiplying change in the radius. Alright. So that is so simple for us. So the change in the area is the A on the R multiplying the change in the radius. And we are talking about area of a circle. Alright, so we go to area of a circle, which is pi r square. So that we can get the A on the R as well 2 pi r. Alright, so we have the A on the R as 2 pi r. And the change in the radius is 0.01. Therefore, the change in the area, okay, will be 2 pi r multiplied by what? The change in the radius, which is what? 0.01. So therefore, the change in the area, we are giving the radius as what? As 5. So 2 pi multiplied by 5 times 0.01. So that the change in the area will become 2 times 5 times 0.01, and that will give us 0.1 pi, change in the centimeter square. Or if you want to write the value of the pi, let's take pi as 22 and 7, and then we see 22 over 7. That will give us 0.3143 centimeter square. So this will be the change in what? The change in the area if the radius changes by 0.01. The area will change by 0.3143 centimeter square or 0.1 pi centimeter square. I believe you get it. Alright. That is so simple to do. So in our next lesson, we'll look at some past questions and then we solve.